Hi, I come to you today with the breaking news alert about antibiotic resistance. Antibiotic resistance. Hmm. What causes antibiotic resistance? Causes of antibiotic resistance are overprescribing of antibiotics. Sometimes we go to the doctor and we just have a simple cold, but we beg and beg for that doctor to give us that antibiotic, even if we don't need it, because we think that antibiotic will make us feel better. That's not always the case. A common cold does not need antibiotic. Another thing, patients are not taking antibiotics as prescribed. Sometimes we feel better before we complete our antibiotics. So instead of us continue to take that antibiotic, we stop taking it and don't complete it. We'll say, well, we'll save that for next time. That's not a good idea. Please do not save those antibiotics. Please complete those antibiotics. It's very important that we complete those antibiotics. Next, we have unnecessary antibiotic use in agriculture, meaning that our food sources, such as our meat, our chickens, our cows, our fish, sometimes they are being given antibiotics because they are needing, their owners feel like they need to treat them to keep them from getting sick so that their cattle and stuff can be productive. So we take in those same foods that's already been treated with antibiotics, which may cause our bodies to be a resistance to antibiotics. Poor infection controls in the hospitals and clinics is another cause for antibiotic resistance. Poor hygiene and sanitation practice is another cause. We need to continuously wash our hands, wash our hands, wash our hands. It's very important that we wash our hands. We're touching things here and there, everywhere. We're just touching. We're going into bathrooms, we're going into buildings, we're going into businesses, and we're touching, but we're not washing our hands like we should after each time we touch something or come in contact with something that we shouldn't come in contact with. We should wash our hands. Lack of rapid laboratory testing is another reason why we are having problems and being a resistance to antibiotic. And with those resistance come things called that we call superbugs. And superbugs is described as a strand of bacteria that are resistant to the majority of the antibiotics commonly used today to help treat us when we have infections. So that's when you get this thing called a superbug. When your body becomes resistant to these antibiotics, it becomes resistant to anything such as if we have the strep throat or if we have upper respiratory infections and we're given an antibiotic and it doesn't work, and then they use the next one and it doesn't work. So that within we have created a superbug because now our body is resistant to that antibiotic. It's not letting that antibiotic cure or help us the way it's supposed to be helping us. Should we be concerned about superbugs? Yes. As the bacteria becomes resistant to antibiotics, our medications become less and less effective in the world. Meaning those medications that those doctors are giving out to the patients that have these different infections, our bodies are coming less and less effective. We can't, these antibiotics aren't helping us at all. Ordinary infections such as strep throat, which I said earlier, will be considered potentially life-threatening to us. Diseases that are currently rare in developing the world, such as tuberculosis, could return an epidemic at an epidemic proportion. Superbugs are especially threatening to the population, like the elderly. In the elderly, the nursing homes, the elderly people, their bodies become resistant, and there's no help for them after that. And what about those people with immune deficiencies? Their immune systems are low. They can't without an antibiotic. They can't get better. And these people who are more susceptible to bacteria infections, if they're if they're having immune deficiency issues, then they're more susceptible to bacteria infections. And without an antibiotic, these people can't get better. Now, some may say, well, what can I do to help the resistance of antibiotic get better? In my world, things that I can do to help me or help the people that I'm around, I could educate them by talking to them about washing their hands. You know, we wash our hands after we go to the bathroom. We need to wash our hands before we prepare food. Or before we eat. Make that a habit, washing your hands. You can never wash your hands enough. With the bacteria that we come into contact with daily, you can never wash your hands enough. So let's wash your hands. It's very important. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. We can also make sure we get the recommended vaccines that are asked that we get. Like there flu vaccines, there's pneumonia vaccines, and things like that we need to be, if we're able to get them or if they're available to us, it would be great that we get those, and it could help too with the antibiotic resistant, because you may end up with a strand of the flu or pneumonia that the antibiotics just won't help. So if you get that flu shot, get that pneumonia shot, that would help our antibiotics properly. I've said that previously, how we get those antibiotics and we feel better sooner. So we stop taking those. We're using those antibiotics appropriately. If they say every 8 hours, take them every 8 hours. If they say every 12 hours, take them every 12 hours. And most of all, take them until they are complete. If that antibiotic is not complete, then you're not done. You're not over what's going on with you. The strand of bacteria that you're given this medication for, the doctor has already given you the amount of days that you need. And you need to take those antibiotics until they are gone. A victim of the superbug. We do not want to become a victim of the superbug, because if we become a victim of the superbug, then we will not have antibiotics that will help us in the time of need. So please, please, please take your antibiotics properly. Wash your hands daily from time to time so that you can make sure that you're doing what you can do to avoid getting or avoid your body becoming resistant to antibiotics. Because once you become resistant to antibiotics, that superbug has just taken over. And we don't want the superbug to take over and we not be able to get the treatments with antibiotic that we need to continue a successful life.